It's my second day here from San Francisco in Tallinn. You might have seen me interviewing your dear Madam President yesterday, which is a great experience for me as she's really an inspirational woman that I wish we could export to many other countries, for example, where I live right now. That could really be a change of spirit. But yeah, I was given the task of giving you a little bit of a story of me, which is, you know, a little bit awkward, of like talk about me. But I wanted to just briefly go through some things that I think is relevant and things that you should have back of your mind and so on. But at the core of it, I think this is really one thing that what I'm seeing is really a difference from when I was early on joining Skype and coming here as well in Estonia and in Tallinn and seeing what was happening. You know, we have a generation of founders, founders of Skype and Unity and Zendesk and Spotify and so on. But, you know, there was really a common denominator. There was against all odds that they succeeded, and I think we now have an opportunity to change that. There's so many more things where we can help each other, and the whole thing of really coming together as a community is essential, and I really believe in this motto we have here. But okay, quickly, just a little bit of background. Anybody can tell me what that is that I have up here? So talking about me, that I'm 47 years old, so I actually was the generation of the mobile phone, seeing from basically big iron things to these type of things, and I helped launch the first mobile internet platform in Denmark, where I'm from, and when it was like called WAP and GPRS, and these were the type of phones we were working with. Very archaic. Then I had the pleasure of joining Janus and Niklas, and I had for many years, I started in like boring, or you know, I had done business school, and then I did management consulting, I did corporate strategy, and I got a great executive role at Oracle in Europe, and I was like, I was on a path where my resume looked like fucking awesome, right? It was just like, yes, this is the way you build a resume. This is what you do. And I just realized that's not really what I wanted to do. And I realized I was like doing so much with my brain of like all my decisions was up here. And it was, you know, great decision as such. It was safe decisions, but I was not passionate about what I was doing. And I think that's like one thing when we grow up and our parents are like, oh, like make safe decisions, don't take risks, don't do anything stupid, and so on. You are like indoctrinated into a path that maybe not be the path where you want to be, but you end up there and you say, wow. But at least one day I look back and say, hey, I don't think this is the right approach. And I heard about this company called Skype. It was a startup, and I remember, you know, I went to London and I came in a black pinstripe suit to the London office and met with Janus and Niklas, and they looked at me and said, who's that like idiot? Like, because they were in t-shirts and jeans and whatnot and so on, and like I was like coming from a complete different culture and a very different world that I entered. But I realized, and it was just really haphazard, and it's really a message I want to convey to all of you. I realized for the first time, I made a decision with my heart. And from then on, that has been my guiding beacon, compass for everything I do in life, is like detach all the clever things, all the rational things and so on. Listen to your heart and say, is this the right thing? Is this really what I want to do? And I think the great thing is, like when I told my mother I was joining Skype, she started crying and said, you know, what happened to my son? And like, it's not good. I think the great thing is that we in the tech community and entrepreneurs have shown as role models that it can be done, and you should not be afraid, and you can lean in and do this. And I really encourage everyone that you meet, you know, as long as you follow your heart, you know, you have a reason to get up every morning, and that's essential. I then joined another unicorn called TradeShift. I helped them get off the ground. It was interesting to use my experience from Skype. And then I was like, hey, so much to be on the side of things, like, should I not also do something on my own? And this was then in 2010, where, you know, Facebook had launched, Instagram had launched, Twitter had launched, and everybody just was more and more active on social media. It's like red hot. Everybody was excited about social media, spending a ton of time in posting me about all these moments happening. And I felt, you know, wouldn't it be great if we could create a time machine for the web, allowing us to see, search, and share all our greatest memories. Being able to say, what was that fun place I went to with my friends? Or when was the last time I was together with Peter or Pia or something? And being able to basically index everything that was happening on social media. And we launched that, and we got fantastic reception, and we went to Sand Hill Road, to Silicon Valley, like, and we raised $2 million within 6 weeks on a basic prototype. And it was just like crazy hype. And we got Robert Scoble and Jason Calacanis, and we got all the influencers in Silicon Valley that signed up and used this and raved about it, and it was great. And then some did say, you know, what are you going to do when Facebook copies you? And we were like, yeah, you know, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. 80% of our users came from Facebook. And in September of 2012, at F8, when Mark Zuckerberg went up on stage, and basically word for word took my pitch and said, hey, wouldn't it be great if with all the memories or moments we created on Facebook could create, you know, memories, and we could share that on a timeline that we call Facebook Timeline. And guess what? Every morning you wake up and Facebook will remind you what you did 5 years ago, which was our key engagement feature on Memo Lane. And you're like, fuck, your phone, my phone went ballistic. Like I had, like, on all channels, everybody was like, Eric, you're fucked. It's like, okay, abort mission, abandon ship, this is never going to work. And definitely our investors were also very encouraging and said, Eric, this is time for you to exit. Like, get out of this. And sure, you know, when you know there's no more money, we are definitely not going to get more money. What do we then do? And then it's a hustle, and it's brutal hustle as a founder to say, hey, what do we do? Do we just like give up and cave in? Or do I find a way? So we did a survey to all our users and said, hey, how would you like to use Memo Lane if you were to pay for services? You know, could it be some type of game you could do, or could it be storage? You know, that could be a thing. And then we also, and a lot of users said, wouldn't it be great that we could automatically print our memories, like these Memo Lanes that we created? Wouldn't it be great if we could create photo books? I was like, perfect. So guess what? I then reached out to Shutterfly, which is the biggest photo book producer. And I said, hey, we are thinking of blah, 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 and would this be interesting for you? And they were like, this is awesome, this could be really cool. And we started a conversation with them about like a partnership, but basically on the back door say, maybe you want to acquire us. And then, you know, I then went to a friend of mine, Raj Kapoor, he's a fantastic guy. He had sold his company, Snapfish, to HP. And I went to him, and he made the introduction to the CEO of then Snapfish at HP. And I went and said, you know, we have one of your competitors that's talking with us, but like we much rather like work with you, and like could we do this and so on. And then eventually they acquired us, and and it's like, you know, very difficult when you are like have this baby that you live and really invested a lot of passion and time in, and then say, okay, now we hand it over to this monster, and especially a monster that, you know, it's interesting if somebody has like the details of history. Who bought Skype? First time, not second time. eBay. Who was the CEO of eBay at that time? Meg Whitman. Who was the CEO of HP when they bought Memolane? Meg Whitman. Like boom, boom, boom. So it's like a continuous like nightmare with Meg Whitman. So yeah, it was a journey. It was interesting to suddenly again come into a corporate world, which is very different from startup world, and very quickly I also realized that's not for me. But I stayed there as I was locked in. But also I wanted to see if we could do something. But HP then decided to split up in two and was really disillusional. So from then on, I actually said, what can we do to help the next generation of founders? All the things that I've learned from Skype and Tradeshift and Memolane and working with a number of great founders that's come over to San Francisco and whatnot, and said, you know, all these founders, against all odds, made it, let's try to do something. And that's why I created ByFounders, which is an early stage for founders ByFounders fund, where we're investing in the next generation of founders. What we've done is we have assembled some of the most accomplished founders from the Nordics and Baltics. We have Stintam Kivi, who's my old colleague from Skype, from Estonia. We are looking, and hopefully in a half a year or so, we can reveal some other great founders from Tallinn to join as well, because we really want to show that like the power of new Nordics, which we call the Baltics and the Nordics. If you were there yesterday, we are actually doing fantastic in the Nordics and in the Baltics. Nobody really knows it yet, and I think we are so humble in nature. Like we don't want to step out and brag like Silicon Valley does. But the fact of the matter is we're doing fantastic. From 2000 to 2013, there was $11 billion unicorns in Europe. In Europe, 11. That was 13 years. There was one from the Nordic and Baltics, which was Skype, 2.6 billion to eBay. What's interesting is from 13 to 18, there was 41 unicorns in Europe, so 4x increase in just 5 years. But what's more important is that within these 41, there's basically 10 of them coming from the Nordic and Baltics. So more than 20% of all the great unicorns that we have created in Europe is coming from this little region of Nordic and Baltics. Like we are really punching above our weight. You know, we have a population here in Estonia, 1.3 million people, and you created 4 unicorns, right? That's not bad. Like, do you know how many unicorns France have created in the same period of time, where there's 60 million people? 4, right? So it's like, we are actually doing fantastic, and we can do much more. And how do we unleash this potential? And I think this is one of the key things that I go around and tell people. Of course, one is to think with your heart. The other thing is, this is the story of innovation. What? How can this be the story of innovation? So Denmark, where I grew up, as I tend to say I just had an opportunity to speak in front of 1,000 business leaders in Denmark, and I called them shepherds. We are a country of shepherds in Denmark. So are many here in Estonia. So are many in Norway, Finland, everywhere. We are brought up, educated, and hired to be shepherds. What does that mean? We are hired to basically come in, get a job, do what we are asked to do, count the sheep every quarter, boom, 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 and making sure that everything runs like clockwork. Maybe optimize, get a few extra sheep, and that's it. That's what we are hired to do. And funny enough, our boss is a shepherd, and he will continue like clapping and say, "You're doing great." And his boss is a shepherd, and in the board, it's only shepherds. And that's why, you know, we have great companies that keep on just growing like this. It's a steady ship. They've existed for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And there's like no rocking the boat. It's just like, get in, be a shepherd, do good. There's nothing wrong in being a shepherd. It's okay. But the challenge is that what's happening now is that Silicon Valley, and as well here, you guys are wolves. And you only have one goal, is to eat as many sheep as possible before the shepherd wakes up and sees what the fuck is going on, right? And I think this is the mentality that we are trying to induce more and more into this next generation of founders. Think like a wolf. Really go out and say, how do I become a category winner? Look at what Airbnb have done, Uber have done, Spotify have done, Skype have done, Bolt is doing, right? They are becoming category winners. They are thinking about like, not like, oh, how we optimize for the next quarter. No, how do we get all the sheep before the shepherd realizes what's going on? Okay, what's encouraging is 25% of all graduates now coming out are excited about doing startups versus going into big corporates. Like we've seen the whole tech community here in the Nordic and Baltics growing by 4x over the last 10 years. More importantly, we now have role models. It's essential. This is really what, you know, if we didn't have a company like Skype and what they created, guess what? Would we have Pipedrive? Would we have Bolt? Would we have Space, not Space, what are they called? The rolling thing. Starship, thank you, right? All of this trickled down from Skype, right? And we see this across the Nordics and Baltics, that we have role models now. And that's what we also created with ByFounders. We have all these 50 great entrepreneurs serving as role models. But one thing I would just like highlight here around role models. One role model we really are missing is female founder role models. We want to see more female founders. And as long as we don't have strong female founder role models, then it's very difficult for more women to get into tech and feel that this is the place they should be. It's not just a moral issue, it's an economic problem, because basically we have a bottleneck in getting enough talent into the tech community. And if we are not able to engage women and all the powers they have, then we are losing out. So like, do me a favor, you know, for all of you female founders, step up, like go for it, and encourage also your dear friends to participate. I think we can make a change on that. Okay, I have 12 seconds left, perfect. What we are looking for investing is passion, love, and the ugly slide. I think this is essential when you're talking with any investor going forward. You know, of course you have passion for what you do. We're looking for people that have like products that people love, but more importantly, we're looking for the ugly slide. Tell us what is it that keeps you up at night. What are the things that challenge you, and what are the things where you need help? Like all the BS and sales slides and so on, we can't use anything for. It doesn't make sense. But when you actually are stepping up and saying, here's the challenges, why I believe that what we are working on might not work, that's where we can actually start a conversation where we are at eye level, and where we can pull in like great founders to say, hey, we've been there before, we know it all. A relationship between a founder and an investor is a marriage. It's 10 years. It's not a sales and here's the money and go do. It's staying together for a long period of time. We have in Danish, in Swedish, in Norwegian, I'm not sure what the word is in Finnish, and I'm not sure what the word is in Estonia. Skadefryd. Schadenfreude is the German word. It's like we get pleasure in seeing other people fail. I'm sure that you have at least in the Danish vocabulary, it's a word. You can look it up, and it's like we laugh when people fucking fail. How do you think it is for an entrepreneur to be an entrepreneur in a country where they have a word for that and where they don't have a word for the opposite? Right? Where we are getting pleasure in seeing other people succeed. So think about that when you are going together with others, creating big successes. don't laugh about when people are failing. It's too easy. It doesn't serve any purpose. But really embrace those that are doing an effort, trying to do, make a difference, take risk, and encourage them and help them and find ways to make them successful. Okay, thank you everyone.
Stay here. Thank you, Eric. Stay here for a moment. We have questions for you.
Oh shit, okay.
Oh, I'm gonna then shoot. If you would have one thing you could do like tomorrow to bring more female entrepreneurs who would build the next unicorns, what would you do differently in Estonia, in a community, to make that happen? What should we do? That's a tricky one, I know.
Yeah.
Should we bring all our daughters to tech conferences?
Yeah.
Like
no, I think again it's very much around this role model, because I think it's about confidence, and I experience that still, you know, there's many hurdles to be a founder altogether, but even being a female founder can even be a bigger hurdle, because you're like, am I good enough? Why? Like, it's like, do I have a purpose here? Can I do this? And fuck yes, you can. And of course, it's like you have all the means, and you're actually much better often than the guys. And it's about building that confidence and those role models. So I think it's like we are actually in our forums, when we have, like when you go on our website and you say, hey, we would like to speak with us and so on, we ask, are you a female founder? Like, because we basically want to create an open road for female founders that get like full access to speak with us, because we don't want to at that early stage filter out for all the wrong reasons. We want to really have an open road.
Thank you. Do we have questions from the audience? No questions to Eric.
I spoke so much. I said so much.
You answered all the questions there is.
Yeah.
But I'm happy actually that you did an intro for our next speaker.
Oh, you did?
Who is a female founder. And I would welcome her on stage then.
Perfect. Good.
Big applause to Eric once more.
Thanks.